Doyle has a wonderful heck off commie for us about colleges abolishing the SAT to increase diversity. So, Doyle, welcome back to the stream and take it away.
More and more colleges and universities are getting rid of standardized testing because many of our friends on the left consider it to be racist because we find consistently that whites and Asians score higher than Hispanics and blacks. And instead of holding Hispanics and blacks to the same standard, we must lower the bar by completely doing away with standardized testing because having the best man for the job isn't actually a strength. Diversity is a strength, and in fact, it's our greatest strength. So do stay tuned.
Also, it's funny Doyle would say diversity is our strength, given and it felt like he said that unironically. I could be mistaken, but it felt like he was saying that unironically, given that he's a fascist. Like I have no issue calling Doyle a fascist. He's been masked off a couple of times. Take care next SVK. Be safe.
John Doyle in. Heck off, commie.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heck Off Commie. This could be it for us. This could be one of the last videos that you see from me on YouTube.com because, as some of you know, they're updating their policies. And so as of December 10th, 2019, YouTube will terminate your account if it believes in its sole discretion that your channel is not, quote, commercially viable, which means that if your channel isn't making them enough money, they can just
I didn't realize this video was that old, but obviously he survived the purge.
delete it. And since they demonetize almost everything that this channel posts, technically it wouldn't be considered commercially viable. It's almost as if they planned this, but whatever. I can't help but laugh at it because it's like,
Oh, the conservative victimhood complex. Dude, you talk about political issues. Right or left, the videos get demonetized because we talk about controversial issues.
First of all, this channel's barely commercially viable for me, but I still make it work. But if and when that happens, you're going to want to go to heckoffcommie.com. Might want to go there now, sign up for the newsletter just in case they delete the channel and you forget about me. Also, if you'd like to hear my impassioned and uncensored thoughts about YouTube, that's going to be going up on the...
I'm just curious. Does he have a Patreon or a subscribe star? No. Wow. Oh, he's got his own membership on his page. I mean, I'd like to get something like this set up myself, like Destiny has, like Vosh and Xanderhall use. My own website that I stream to and have donations and membership away from the Twitch infrastructure. But I can't afford to pay someone to do that, and I don't have the first idea how I would do that myself. But I mean, I would still like stream to Twitch like Destiny does, but my own website that I could invite people to so that it's not a Twitch link. It's my own website that I could control, like emotes and that kind of thing.
Website very soon because I just don't think it's a good idea to post here. Plus, if you sign up, you could win an epic Christmas sweater. Patrick, I'm talking to you. Matt, Eric, talking to you. You guys are epic, but it could very well be the only way that we can stay in touch. I hope not. Still have Twitter, stuff like that for now, but it could be. But anyways, I figured if we're going out, we may as well go out talking about racial differences in SAT scores. So here we go. But first, I want to talk about why I really like the SAT, why the SAT is good. Then we'll talk about why they say it's bad, how it's racist, all that fun stuff. We'll debunk it. So everyone watching this has probably taken the SAT. Maybe they will in the future. Maybe you've taken the ACT, but I'm absolutely in love with the SAT. And the reason that I'm in love with the SAT is because I did very well on it, because I have a high IQ. I got big brain, 97th percentile, perfect essay score, 24 out of 24. And I don't think that being intelligent means that you're better than someone else or that you have more value than someone else. But you have to understand, I was kind of like pushed into a corner because I'm sitting in these classes with the boys. We're making memes, just minding our own business. And then for years, we're just getting the eye rolls. Everyone's calling us stupid. Everyone's calling us immature. And then it's time to actually find out who's got the biggest brain. And they're a bit unhappy to find out that John Doyle, who they laughed at and called a Nazi for being to the right of Hillary Clinton, is actually smarter than them. So this was fun for me because here's what happened.
No one is saying the fascists and Nazis can't be smart. They're just shitty. I'm sorry, I just want to say I don't think the sheriff is denying the data. He's just reading something else in it than Don and BLM. That's possible. It's possible he's just unaware of the studies, but he's being very uh, assertive that there's no data.
Happens. You've got these kids and they're really good at the system of school. They're really good at showing up to class on time, taking notes, retaining the information for the tests, and then forgetting about it. Then they take a test that actually measures their intelligence and they do poorly. These are the kids who, they have a problem with standardized testing because they're so used to being told that they are exceptional because they can maintain a high grade point average. But then in an actual test of intelligence, they come up short. And so they think to themselves, well, I didn't do well on this test, so there must be something wrong with the test because I'm brilliant. So this just doesn't add up. And it's very funny to me. And truly brilliant people tend to have very high grade point averages and high test scores, so don't think that I don't acknowledge that. But the kids who get really good grades and then they develop an ego about it and then they bomb the SAT, I love those kids so much. Like they're just so convinced that they're these geniuses, but
I love how he's ignoring the fact that a lot of times this is due to parental and societal pressure for these kids to succeed. And then when they don't, like there's been studies I've looked at or read about that kids who were told they were super smart and that they were in honor roll and what have you, they end up not doing as well in life because they're put under so much pressure to succeed that they just crack under it.
you talk to them, and their personality is basically rooted in four things, which would be an enjoyment of being around people, an enjoyment of watching things on screens, an enjoyment of consuming specific foods and drinks, namely types of coffee or alcohol, and also an enjoyment of animals, namely dogs and cats. But you'll get a hamster or a guinea pig in there sometimes, and these are the types of people who look down upon my people. The young guys, the high energy, we're restless, we want to create chaos, we have convictions, we're sharp, we maintain to this day that we would have done better on the math section if we had paid attention in class, but it is okay. And what do? They diagnose us with ADHD. They tell us that our behavior is defective. It's fundamentally a difference, a conflict between masculine and feminine within education.
Oh boy. If your behavior is disrupting other people's ability to learn, then you are a problem, Doyle. Also, notice how we're 4 minutes into this 12-minute video, and he has said nothing. All he has said is that he did well on the SAT, and he loves these kids who get good grade point, get high GPAs, and then bomb the SATs because they were so going to succeed and then they bomb out, but I'm big brain Doyle. I did well on the SAT. Yeah. The issue with the SAT is that, along with really only telling who can take a test well or not, like my sister is not a stupid person. She is fairly clever, very intelligent, but she could not take tests to save her life. Now, she is a registered nurse going for her master's right now, so she's figured it out, but it took a long time. And I was the opposite. I slacked off in class, but made up for it in my tests, and then I had no skills to survive college that way. But that is the other reason why the SAT and the ACT may not be a good indicator of someone's ability to succeed in college, because all it shows is how well you have absorbed the information they test for and how well you take tests. If you don't take tests well, it doesn't matter how much information you've absorbed. Now, granted, they generally need to figure out some way of figuring out how much you've absorbed, but I mean that's why high schools have their own grades, right? There's no difference between blacks and whites for the most egregious cases, which I think are the ones that lead to deaths of black or white people. And the BLM is based on a lie because BLM says there's a difference between blacks and whites in these cases. Just wanted to explain that. Yes, it's true that blacks and whites commit crimes or they don't commit crimes at about the same rate. But for a lot of things, blacks and whites commit crimes for. Blacks are disproportionately punished for.
And feminine is winning, but we could talk about that for hours. The purpose of the SAT fundamentally is to predict college success, right? Like that's why it exists. That's why we take it. Now, obviously, there are a lot of factors that the SAT can't necessarily account for, things like your motivation, your discipline, your general personality, if you will, stuff like that. But that being said, it does a pretty good job. There was a large-scale meta-analysis done by the University of Minnesota, and that found that a student's SAT score is just as good a predictor of their freshman year GPA as it is of their general college GPA. And research from Vanderbilt has shown that the SAT is also a predictor of many life outcomes long after college.
Okay, let me look up these. I don't suppose he linked. No, of course he didn't. I just one thing that I've learned in my time on the interwebs is when a conservative gives you a study and they just flash a title or something up on it, probably means they misread it or misrepresenting something. So let's see. Okay. Assertion that ability differences no longer matter beyond a certain threshold is inaccurate. Among young adolescents in the top 1% of quantitative reasoning ability, individual differences in general cognitive ability level and in specific cognitive ability pattern, that is, the relationships among an individual's math, verbal, and spatial abilities, lead to differences in educational, occupational, and creative outcomes decades later, whereas ability level predicts the level of achievement, ability patterns predicts the realm of achievement. Adding information on vocational interests refines prediction of educational career choices. Skill preference relevant to career choice performance and persistence often change between ages 25 and 35 in preferences, which likely have relevance to understanding the underrepresentation of women in careers that demand more than full-time commitment. Okay. Oh. Okay. I fucking hate paywalling. Let me see. Aha! Fuck you, paywall. Okay. Portion of quartile with outcome. Let's go to the conclusion. Science of talent development has revealed the importance of assessing individual differences in cognitive abilities within the top 1%. Ability level and pattern are both critical for modeling the many different kinds of developmental trajectories that intellectually precocious young adults display. Moreover, measures of educational, vocational interests, and lifestyle preferences add value in forecasting the likelihood of educational, occupational, and creative outcomes over the lifespan. Okay. Longitudinal research will examine what interventions are. Okay. Um, okay, let me find the other study he talked about. Fact and fiction. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So, standardized measures of intelligence, ability, or achievement are all measures of acquired knowledge and skill and of consistent relationships with multiple facets of success in life. Okay. 5 persistent beliefs about ability tests have developed, including there's no relationship with important outcomes like creativity or leadership, that there is predictive bias, that there is a lack of predictive independence from socioeconomic status, there are thresholds beyond which scores cease to matter, and that other characteristics like personality matter as well. With these 5 beliefs, only the importance of personality is a fact, and the other 4 are fiction. So let's go to the conclusion here. Given the impact of high stakes testing on individuals and society, it is important for scientists, citizens, and policymakers to critically examine standardized tests of cognitive ability and fully inform themselves about the scientific evidence on these selection tools. The vast body of accumulated knowledge about these tests is clear. They're among the strongest, most consistent predictors of performance across academic and work settings. Although the evidence indicates that the group differences reflected by standardized cognitive tests are not caused by the tests themselves, we need to decide how to address the causes of group differences and wrestle with their consequences. We should continue to strive to further understand the nature and development of cognitive abilities and seek additional assessments that supplement cognitive ability test scores to improve decision-making accuracy. Okay, so it does seem to indicate that there is some predictive capability from these tests. And this is just a random thought of mine, but if you have a very well-known test like the SAT that's being highly used to select people for admission to colleges, and you go check how well the SAT life outcomes are already pretty confounded. Yeah, that's a good point, Eli.
Is just as good a predictor of their freshman year GPA as it is of their general college GPA. And research from Vanderbilt has shown that the SAT is also a predictor of many life outcomes long after college. And the reason for that is that the SAT is an intelligence test. And they'll tell you that it's not. They'll tell you that you can study for it just like you'd study for a spelling test. And that's just not true. There's a very high correlation between SAT scores and IQ scores, and both of these remain relatively stable.
Except IQ is largely irrelevant. Nobody actually uses IQ anymore. That's some race realist bullshit.
Over time, and they can't really be increased through training or practicing. And research has shown that the SAT classes, the coaching, all that stuff, that only increases your score by about 20 points, which is still noteworthy, but not significant enough to conclusively settle the debate and say that intelligence can be modified, or even, well, if it can't be modified, then how is it fair to make decisions that profoundly affect their lives based on something that they can't control? And I'll tell you why it's fair. I don't want intellectual diversity at our top colleges and universities. And I don't mean like diversity of thought or whatever. I mean like I literally do not want intellectual diversity. I don't want a mixture of very intelligent people and very unintelligent people just for the sake of
So you are okay with creating a lower class of people who maybe don't take tests as well, because whether it's a measure of general intelligence or just a measure of how well you've absorbed the knowledge you were supposed to be taught over the last 13 years in school, the SAT is still at its core a measure of how well you take tests. Whether it also measures other things is irrelevant to this question. So you're A-okay, and this doesn't surprise me about Doyle. You're A-okay creating a lower class of people who are forever barred from higher education because they don't take the SAT well. And that's ignoring the fact that depending on what you want to go to college for, they may not test well for that kind of thing on the SAT. Like, if you're going into, like, psychology or, like, I don't know what the official major would be, like social work, that's something that is predicated more on empathy and understanding than your fucking raw intelligence. I think that's definitely another issue, Eli, that it is not culturally sensitive. It is very weighted towards white people.
Conclusion. Why do you deserve to go to college? Why do you deserve to take the place of someone smarter than you? You know, if we're training the next generation of doctors, I don't care what your extracurriculars were in high school. Like, you know, I want the smartest guys possible filling up those places. And if that's not you, I really couldn't care less. Maybe you can tell that to a white liberal on the operating table, because it turns out eating your period blood 3 days a week is not actually a good idea. Just tell them your MCAT score sucked, but it's okay because you were the president of the gender sexuality.
MCATs is different from the SAT. You're looking to get into a specific school, then I totally okay, or a specific type of school, like medical school. I'm totally okay with them having a specific entrance exam. The problem is we're treating the SATs as an entrance exam just to college. And if it's biased towards white people, towards upper middle class people, then you're going to get a lot of very intelligent, non-white, lower class people who can't pass it or can't do well enough to get into schools.
Alliance, and they'll probably be okay with it. But seriously, it's not like, we're excluding you from a party.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you meant there, Disila. Yes, you're right. But yeah. So what California is doing is they are suspending the SAT and ACT requirements for a few years, and they're officially discontinuing it in 2025. What this means is that they could potentially find that actually suspending it leads to worse outcomes, in which case they can undo it and go back to, and oh no, they've let a few dumb people into college. The great thing about college is that if you're too stupid for it, you can quit. Granted, you're still going to be in debt up to your eyeballs, but I mean, we don't have a way of testing whether someone should go to college or not. We just test whether they're allowed in.
Or something. Like, it's nothing personal against you. I just happen to believe that the smartest people should be put in the positions that require the smartest people. And if that makes you uncomfortable, that's too bad. Back to the preparation or the coaching, this stuff. If you look at who's publishing the articles claiming that you can practice and increase your score, stuff like that, almost all of them are selling their own prep course. So they have a financial incentive to pretend that you can increase your score by practicing. And if you buy their course, all they do is teach you a bunch of strategies like, if you know an answer is wrong, cross it out. That way, when you select an answer, you won't pick the one that you know is wrong. It's like, bro, I paid $500 for this. The best way to practice for the SAT is to practice
The problem here is capitalism.
Algebra and reading comprehension. But again, this isn't going to work for people that are not smart enough to do algebra proficiently or to look at sets of text and find answers proficiently. I mean, the only real improvement that can be made is going to come from people that are smart enough to do those things, but just haven't learned them yet for whatever reason, probably, playing Pocket Edition in class or something. And these are always the criticisms. They claim, well, it's not fair because you can practice for it. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean that you're going to see improvements. You can practice for anything. You can practice flying. But if you don't have the capacity to independently achieve human flight, you're not going to improve. Or, intelligence tests have been used to claim racial superiority in the past, therefore they're bad. It's like, yeah, this is the same thinking that brought you guns have been used in bad ways before, therefore all guns are bad. Never mind that both guns and intelligence tests.
No, because we can point to data about how, I guess the difference is that intelligence tests have pretty much only been used to exclude people. It's not even really comparable. So you just got to put that dig in there about guns, don't you, Doyle? Oh boy.
Are groundbreaking and extremely useful human inventions. Or they'll say something like, human beings shouldn't be reduced to a test score. Why not? Should we not reduce the vast experience that is human life to a number like we do with age? We are trying to objectively quantify your performance on a scale which we can then use to compare you to other students. Like, what's wrong with that? That it doesn't take into account that you were in choir in high school? Again, that's great, but it doesn't mean that you deserve to take the place of someone who is much more likely to fare better than you. Or they'll say,
what if someone is going for a music degree? From what I recall, granted, it's been almost 15 years since I took the SAT and ACT, but I don't remember there being much about music theory on those tests. What if someone's going for a music degree? Or, what if they're going, like I said, for some sort of degree in social work so they can work with underprivileged kids or whatever. Again, that takes more empathy than intelligence. This is where you're just wrong. And I actually don't actually believe that Doyle took the SAT, because why would he? He's not going to college. He's got a cushy 153K subscriber YouTube channel, getting all kinds of money from right wing dark packs. You just want to claim you did well on the SAT so that you can claim your big brain status.
Say, well, it's not fair because kids who grow up in wealthy families tend to do better, and that's just not fair. It's like, why is this surprising? Like, really, like, why do you think that there's a correlation between familial wealth and SAT scores? It's not because they're buying the prep courses. Maybe they are, but it's not because they're working. It's because there is a strong correlation between IQ and future income. And we know that IQ is largely genetic. So, of course, there's a link between the wealth of the family and the kid's test score.
No, IQ is heritable. That doesn't mean that it's genetic. You know, it's a good question to see, like, why are we watching this? This guy's a fucking idiot. Fucking Doyle. Yeah. They're basically, it's an experiment that California colleges are running to see how it works. And you're dooming it from the start, like anything liberals do. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember to like, share, and leave a comment because it helps me. Subscribe and ring that bell to help you. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.